So, one of the very first things I want to bring to our attention in this specific exhibition is the plastination. There are many ways of conserving cadavers, the bodily remains of people, and anyone who has gone to medical school knows very well that formaldehyde is the most commonly used. Sometimes they use like glycerin and some other things. Well, I've been to medical school, and anyone who has had this experience for sure knows how strongly formaldehyde smells. Back when we were there in the anatomical center, there was a joke when people were talking about the cranial nerves that the first cranial nerve you stimulate is the olfactory because you first feel the smell of formaldehyde and only then you see the anatomical pieces. And to audience that considers that the methods of conservation are not something interesting or relevant, I strongly challenge you to spend like 3 or 4 hours inside an anatomical theater because the smell is very strong. And so what I think is one of the greatest achievements this exhibition does is not necessarily just displaying the pieces, because truth be told, there are anatomical pieces in many universities and hospitals around the world, but rather having them readily accessible and in a, let's say, non-aggressive presentation, something people can actually be comfortable around. They are preserved, but they are not as intense as other forms. And so here we have an example of the process of plastination I mentioned before. So anyone who has been inside an anatomical theater knows how strongly formaldehyde smells. And it was actually invented by Dr. Gunther von Hagens in 1977. The process they use here, it's much more comfortable to see at least. And you see that they do start with the same idea. Formalin kills all bacteria and chemically stops the decay of tissue. So the process does start the same way. Now, where it changes is in the forced impregnation, where they substitute the acetone for silicone rubber or some other reactive polymer. And then, in order to make it hard, they cure it after they've positioned correctly according to what they want, which, depending on the polymer, can be done with gas, light, or heat, as they say. I wasn't particularly experienced with this specific detail, but like I mentioned, this is what allows us to be here comfortably today. I actually visited an exhibition just like this one in São Paulo some 20 years ago or something like that. Back then, I was just an adolescent, so I hadn't yet gone to medical school, and my understanding of it was, of course, as much as any other layman. However, that was a temporary exhibition. It went to São Paulo and stayed sometimes there. This is a permanent one. I'm not sure whether they are affiliated, I don't remember the name of the one I went back then, but it's pretty much the same idea, except this one has a building it's permanently located in. And so, that's essentially why I decided to come to this one in the Netherlands, even though there are exhibitions like this one in many places around the world, because so many of them are not permanent, so you'd have to get the date really right. And so, starting here, we start in the brain and nervous system room. So, the very first pieces they have here, and I'm going to change to the other camera to better show it, are a brain,